Hey everyone, welcome to multiplying and dividing complex numbers. So let's say we have z1 is equal to r1 times the quantity cosine theta of 1 sub 1 plus I times sine theta 1, and z2 equals r2 times the quantity cosine theta sub 2 plus I sine of theta sub 2. So then you can either multiply number one or divide them, and this is how you divide them. And notice these are complex numbers in polar form. Okay, so if you want z1 times z2, you multiply the radii, and then all you do is you're going to add the degrees. You're going to add the radians, or you're going to add the degrees together here when you multiply. When you divide, you divide the radii, okay, and then you subtract the degrees here. So I've got two examples to show you. They're not terrible. So let's go ahead and get started with that first example. So we want to find the product of z1 and z2 here. So in the first example, I'm going to leave it in polar form, and then the second example will show you how to write something in standard form. So here's the idea. So if we have the product, if we want z1 times z2, well, from the definition from before, let's just go ahead and rewrite that and just say, remind ourselves it's r1 times r2, and then you're going to take the cosine, and then you're going to add your two thetas together, theta 1 plus theta 2, plus you're going to have I sine of theta 1 plus theta 2. Okay, so I just rewrote that definition for us here. So let's now just use substitution. You have r1 and r2, so that's going to be on the outside. You could do just 7 times 2 on the outside. In parentheses, you leave cosine alone, and then you're going to add 25 and 130. So 25 degrees plus 130 degrees. Now, if it's an exact value, great. You could simplify depending on if they ask you to simplify or not. But I'm going to leave this one in just polar form. So plus 130. Oops, close that off. Close. Notice how this and this are the same. So we're going to end up with 14 times cosine of 155 degrees plus I sine of 155 degrees. Now your degrees better match here, and I put this in function notation, so I'll do that here. So there is our answer for the product of these two in polar form. I just left it. You could simplify this out and go, put it in the form of a plus bi if you wanted to. That's standard form, and that's what I'm going to do on the next example. But here, I just want to leave this one in polar form. Okay, so that's the first example of how to multiply complex numbers. Okay, in the second example, I'm going to express z1 over z2 in standard form. Okay, so this is where I'm going to go ahead and use the calculator afterwards to help us get these in standard form, that a plus bi. So if I really wanted to, like I did in the last example, so z1 over z2 is just simply r1 divided by r2 times, okay, cosine of theta 1 minus theta 2, okay, plus I sine of theta 1 minus theta 2. Okay? There's the definition. So let's use that definition. R1 is 2 root 2. I'm going to divide that by R2, which is 6. And I'm going to go ahead and put cosine here of 135 degrees minus 300 degrees plus I sine of 135 minus 300, and notice we have carbon copies with the angles here. They should be. Okay, close that off. Notice how it's still addition in between. Okay, so now I can simplify here if I wanted to. This just becomes root 2 over 3. Okay, hopefully you see why it does, right? The 2 becomes 1, 2 simplifies there. Okay, so that's how we can simplify. Now we're going to go ahead and have our angles here, so we're going to go ahead and do cosine, okay, and I'll just put this as negative 165 degrees. I'll put that in red for us so we can just have a little bit different color here so we can see it. Okay, and then this is again going to be negative 165. Okay, That's degrees, and we'll close that off with our bracket. Now this is where we can go ahead and simplify if we need to. So we can go ahead and distribute the root 2 over 3 to each term, and then basically what you're going to do is you're going to have root 2 over 3 times cosine of negative 165. This is going to be your a value, plus you're going to have root 2 over 3, your I root 2 over 3 times sine of negative 165. So here is going to be your BI term here. Okay, well, BI, not sub I, sorry. So when I use the calculator here to do that, what I end up getting is when I multiply all this through, I get negative approximately 0.46 minus 0.12i. That is standard form. So I took one step further. Here's the polar form, and then if they want exact or standard form, I can go ahead distribute the root 2 over 3 to both terms, and then this is just a number, right? Root 2 over 3 times cosine of negative 165 gives us this, and then root 2 over 3 times sine of negative 165 times I gives us approximately this. So that is how we multiply and divide complex numbers. Questions or comments, type them below. We'll see you next time.